Hello, my name is Zach Matt, and welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be talking about why are games not interesting anymore. Now, one of the common things I've gained from talking to people recently is why do games feel like less interesting to play and just less enjoyable overall? Even the same games we were playing a couple of years ago just don't seem anywhere near as interesting and as fun as what they used to be. Now, one of the main things we sort of nailed that down to was the whole COVID lockdown situation, because we were locked inside for like half a year, at least in the UK. I think most other places are a similar theme, if not worse, to be honest. I guess it depends where you live, but we were pretty much all locked inside, and all we had to do was talk online and play games. Like that's all people my age at least had to do. And even people who worked full-time jobs, right? A lot of them, like, obviously had to work from home and ended up, instead of going out after work or something, they just were playing games as well. So I guess it's probably a problem for everyone to a level. But for people who were in school, who stopped going because of this whole thing, as for me, my entire GCSE exams got cancelled. So, like, if we didn't even need to revise for them or finish off coursework, so all we had to do was just play games and talk online. And now I think that whole level of exposure and oversaturation to games and in general just online content during that time probably it took away, like, it's sort of an imbalance in a way, because you can't carry on doing something if you're doing it constantly. And I think that's the case with this. Is it got to a point where you do it so much that it isn't fun anymore. Because it's all you've ever been doing, and you need to have a variation of experiences to like enjoy life, don't you? There's still things I enjoy. It's just games in general aren't really one of them anymore. I'll still every now and again go and play a game, and something like virtual reality, which is still quite a new thing to me. I enjoy a lot more because it's a lot more immersive and over the top compared to a normal game, right? But 90% of people probably don't play VR, and the whole point of video games is just to be enjoyable, right? So what's the point if they're not enjoyable? So yeah, I've nailed this whole thing down mostly to like the oversaturation of gaming during COVID, because it was all you had to do, and I think doing many hours of anything a day is eventually going to have a point where you can't keep doing it at the same level and you can't keep enjoying it. Like, it's the whole problem of burnout. People get burnt out from anything, whether it's playing games, whether it's working, making YouTube videos, anything. I've experienced it loads. Most other people have probably experienced it to a level as well, probably not far off what I've experienced it to. And this whole problem of well, it's not really a problem, but I guess this whole thing of not being as enjoyed when playing games is also put down partly to the fact that there's just more things you can do nowadays that in general are more interesting, right? I'd much rather go out and actually spend time with people in person than do it online most of the time, because it's like there's a lot more you can do and it's a lot more, there's a lot more social interaction there and just stuff going on, right? And I think it's almost unfair for people to just be attributing the lack of enjoyment from games to it just being a bad game, because sure, there are bad games. Battlefield, for example, that's a pretty bad game, but even like the more recent Call of Duty games, I don't think are much worse, if not any worse, than something that we were playing for hours and hours a day during lockdown, right? Like, the new Modern Warfare, I wouldn't say is less enjoyable than the last Modern Warfare was. Like, I go back and play the old Modern Warfare, and I enjoy it less than I do the new one. Partly because the new one's just a different experience. But overall, like, I don't enjoy either of them anywhere near as much as I did back during lockdown. And I can say that about almost any, normal game, especially FPS games. But games in general are just something I don't get as much enjoyment out of anymore. And I only tend to play them during, these gameplays that I'm recording for this video and when I'm streaming on Twitch. Outside of that, I only play them, a couple times a week with friends. I don't tend to play them by myself anymore. Like, back in COVID, was literally up until 4 a.m. most days, grinding out, gold camos and stuff on guns in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's all I was really doing. So it really does make sense why games just in general aren't enjoyable, and why people are thinking that they're just worse games, when most of the time it's just every game seems less enjoyable, and there's nothing revolutionary enough to sort of break that trend, I guess. So yeah, that's the end of the video. It's been a bit of a short one today, but I will be back soon with another one. So yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.